Hey, what's going on? It's late at night and I just got done with this, which you're going to see on today's video from Roach Fab Garage. We're going to basically take all the rust off, clean it up, strip pretty much down to steel, and then weld in some rust holes and clean it up and get some just some spray can primer on here to seal things up. And it'll be kind of looking good, one piece, sealed and preserved. Here we go, let's get to work. As you can see, I got this paint is just barely holding on and a lot of scale rust in there, so just taking the wire wheel to the whole thing and getting it down to bare metal. So it's actually all coming off real quick. You can see I already got basically the lower quarter panel wheel well done on each side, and just kind of moving on to the roof and the trunk lid. Alright, got a whole bunch of wire wheeling done on 46 here. So got about that far on each side. I guess a few little wire wheels I had sitting around were mostly used up before I started them. So ran out of basically wire wheels got ate up. So yesterday ran over to Harbor Freight. You see this door, this is about as far as the wire wheel wanted to take this part of the door, and I didn't want to burn in too much, create too much heat to warp anything. So most of this stuff, the paint just came right off, flaked off. It's just old and falling off. But a couple spots, doors on each side, and then on the trunk lid was kind of stubborn and stuck on there. So I'm going to take everything down to the steel here. So I got one of these. I think some people call them cookie discs, but it's polycarbide abrasive wheel, just like $5, something like that, $8 from Harbor Freight. And we're gonna see how well that does on taking this off. Supposedly it's supposed to pull the paint right off of there. That polycarbide abrasive wheel, cookie disc, as most people call it, actually worked really well. I'm surprised. I don't know, I've never used it before. It seemed like it was lasting for a while, and then it kind of burned up all at once. I only got one of them because I didn't know how it would work, so I went and got about 6 more of them, and we'll see if we can get this car finished with it. So here we go. Just picked up from Harbor Freight. They're actually like $6 a pop. I thought they were a little more than that, but yeah, $6 each. So I ended up, and here's, hard to tell, it's very poor lighting in here, and this thing needs wiped off, but yeah, it actually cleaned that paint right off down to metal, but didn't seem to be eating into the metal or creating too much heat, so I was pretty happy with that. So I'll be moving over here to the passenger side to do the same thing. I'll set it up on a time lapse. Alright, well, it's going to be hard to tell on camera, but got it all, pretty much all the paint stripped off, except kind of lower fenders. I'm actually going to pull those off to finish those. I do have the tops done and got marked up. Actually, it's in pretty good shape. A few spots. I have some pinholes coming through there, right there. Small dent on the fender. One more small dent on the fender. Pretty sizable dent up here on the roof. More pit holes on the lower door. Looking pretty good over here. Pretty sizable dent on the upper quarter panel here. And really that's about it. Oh, same as the other side, pinholes here, and pinholes at the bottom of the door there. But overall, it looks pretty good. Got all the old rust and paint stripped off. We'll get it shortly. We'll get it wiped off, and then once we get those couple dents popped and those pinholes welded up, we'll get some primer on there, and at least to prevent it from rusting anymore, and then that'll be good enough to start working on cutting up the floors for the new suspension, and that'll be coming here shortly as well. Alright, I picked up some plastic trim removal tools from Harbor Freight, and we're going to see about getting this windshield off. Alright, pulled you to the inside so you can see what we're struggling with the inside. There's the other side of the seal right here, and that's what's catching. It's going to be hard to see on account of my poor lighting here, but here's the duct for the defrost or fresh air vent, and so there's two screws on each side holding that duct in, and those are hitting that seal. So we'll take those out and see if that makes it any better. Yep, that did the trick. That seal was hitting those screws. Was preventing it from moving how we wanted it to. Well, I struggled with the windshield. I did get it out, but I ended up cracking it while in the process. I'd planned on replacing the windshield anyways, all the glass, because most of it was in pretty rough shape or broken when I received the car, but was hoping to try and figure out how to get it out without breaking it. We'll try and take lessons learned from the windshield and do it on the back glass. The biggest lesson learned is just like these seals are hard and junk. I'm just going to cut off as much of it as I can. Lots of lube, and just be slow and patient, which is what I struggle with the most, is being patient and taking my time. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, what I figured out worked pretty well is once you got some of this top seal out, this thing's hard as a rock. If you kind of put the blade upside down like this and run it through, it will pretty easily cut through that. And now I can't really do it one-handed, but I was doing it on the time lapse, and you're just gonna work it on that seal and it cuts this top portion of the seal right off. So once you, and there you go. Well, after dropping that out of there, it did surprisingly survive all in one piece. I was trying to demonstrate and ended up knocking it out of there. As you can see, there should be, if I go on this end, there's this, so where my thumb is, that's the outside glass. There's like this inner and outer layer, and this is what grabs on to that channel. So basically what I did was, as far as I could, cut that layer off that was sticking out, or just kind of chipped it away and cut it as I could. And once that piece of rubber, that's basically a gland that's holding that in, once that is chipped away enough, I got right here is the only part that has it on. So basically 3/4 of the way around, I cut it off and it popped right out, actually, before I was ready for it to come out. So actually not too bad. The front windshield was a little harder. I didn't cut enough of this away, made it harder than it had to be, but that's really, if you have an old crusty seal windshield like this, that's the best thing I can recommend, is just basically cut all of this top layer out. That's the part that's holding it from going inside, and once you cut that out, it should basically fall right through like mine did. So trying to figure out what to do with this old rusty drip rail. The other side had already been cut off before I got a hold of it, and this side is in very poor shape. It's hard to tell from the camera, but I'm about to show you. It's in very rough shape. So first of all, not only is it perforated, see if we can get this to focus, all through it, but also it's literally separated and coming off all the way across this whole top edge. And it's not much better on each end. This part's literally just rusted and fallen off. It's actually supposed to go all the way back here somewhere. So I was doing a little research online. Not much to find on the drip rails of these, but I saw a video. Bad Chad had done something with it, as well as from, I believe it was Custom Mike's was the other guy. Basically cut out the old drip rail and then put round, I think it's 3/8 round bar in place of where this old drip rail is. So I think I'm gonna get this side cut off, or half of it will just about pull off, and then from there I got some 3/4 round bar on order, and we'll get this edge cleaned up and get some of that bent up and welded in here, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna get this all cut off here, and then I'll come back to this in a little bit once I got everything finished, cleaned up, and just some primer on the body to keep it from rusting up, because this will be a little bit longer term project here. And yeah, hopefully that works out all right. I did get a little bit of self-etching primer on the quarter panels on each side off camera last weekend, and so now I'm gonna get on fixing up a bunch of the pinholes that we got in a few spots here, up there, and then a couple along this edge here, as well as all up in the wheel well. That hole is mounting hole for the fender, but all around it started to fill a little bit, but there's just a bunch of little pinholes that aren't supposed to be there. So I'm going to get those all filled in with weld. And then once I got all those little pinholes filled in, we'll hit this all with self-etching primer. So like I said, here's the driver's side, a few here and there. And kind of the same deal over here on the passenger side. Up kind of where the drip rail terminated there on this A-pillar. Bottom's the door here, as well as kind of where the drip rail sat along here, as well as in the wheel lip where the fender was. I already did most of the patching on this side, so I just gotta check for any little pinholes, like that one there. Get those cleaned up, and then we can throw some self-etching primer on there and have this thing sealed up. So, well, I think I forgot to record on that one, but here we go, all those pinholes filled in. Thin in spots, but just did our best to keep her cool and fill it in. We'll grind it smooth and see how it turned out. This was a piece that was welded inside of the lower quarter, and I have since removed it whenever we redid those. Don't know what it's for, but not going to use it now. So this looks like it's going to work just about perfectly. It has a couple of these holes in it, which is fine because I'm actually going to plug weld it to the inner piece. And actually, that edge lines up just about perfect. Alright, well, I did forget to get the camera out here for this. This was pretty heavy dent here, and not quite a crease, but pretty heavy low spot there. And I was able to pull most of that dent out with the hammer and dolly. Just using the basic Harbor Freight hammer and dolly set. Used this dolly and this hammer here, and was able to mostly get that dent out on the driver's side. You won't be able to see the perspective here on the camera. Hard to tell, obviously, but this spot here, some time ago, long before I had the car, there was something basically nearly punctured this door and had a pretty big dent in. And so I was struggling to really get it flat at all with the regular hammer and dolly. So I'm gonna try a technique. I saw just on YouTube, Karl Fisher from Make It Custom is his YouTube channel, and just saw a technique he used with basically using the acetylene torch to heat the center of this up red hot, and then after that hit it with the hammer and dolly, and it helps basically to shrink that material, push the kind of stretched outer metal into the kind of into the center of that, and basically allow the steel to push together when it's red hot. So we'll give that a try. Never done anything like that before, but at least Karl Fisher made it seem easy enough. So I'll put a link to that video in my description here, as he's going to be able to show you a lot more than I can. But we'll give it a shot and see how it turns out. To get started here with shrinking the dent here on the door panel, driver's side, we're going to remove the cutting tip for the torch. These are my little portable acetylene torch kit. Got for free, so that's an interesting story there. But remove the cutting tip, put a regular kind of like welding tip or rosebud they call it. This is just going to give us a lot more control for heating up a red dot in the center of that dent. Alright, so we're going to give this a shot. I'm no expert with the torch or with body, hammer, and dolly, but we're going to give it a shot, see how it goes. So first thing we're going to do, light the torch, heat the center of this up red hot, smack it in. So we smack it in to create a dent going inward, and then we're going to put a dolly on that dent, and then pull the and then hammer on the outsides where it's high. This will be a low spot in the center, high on the outside, and we'll quickly hammer around while it's still hot in the center, obviously with some gloves on and a dolly back behind it, and see how that goes. Alright, trying to pull you in close here to see a little better, but we got some oil canning going on. Trying to find the spot here. Basically what that means is from this big dent that was, door's closing, big dent that was here, we got it all stretched, the material stretched out. When we pulled it in, it did actually pull it in here. But we still got some kind of stretched material on here. You saw the initial dent here, but you know, the whole area, it was pretty deep before we started working on it. So this whole area looks to be stretched out. So hopefully, if I find just the right spot, which seems to be right in here, hopefully we can shrink some of that oil canning out. Alright, it took me a minute, but I got it figured out.
So I just did this one here. It was oil canning really bad in this spot. And basically heat up red hot. The spot I was missing on the last one, use the point of the hammer. Basically you make a cone inward and then put the dolly on the back side and push that cone in. It pushes that material together. So that was the part I was missing. Had to rewatch the video. But, so this part's really good, but I'm getting oil canning down in this direction. Right there's the high spot. So once again, same thing. Heat this up red hot. Hit it with the sharp part of the hammer. It's going to make a cone inward. I'm going to put the dolly on the back side, the sharp point of that cone sticking inward, and then hammer it flush until it's smooth. And that'll take the oil can out. I was a little skeptical, but I'd seen someone else do it that I really trusted, and now it's starting to work. Gotta find the high spot of it, which I think is right there. Alright, well I got this side as good as it's going to get, as far as with the heat shrinking. So, yeah, on camera it actually looked better before than it is now, but yeah, it was like deep caved in, and so now it's all flush. There's no oil canning or deep divots or anything. I just got to go by and planish this in a little bit. But I'm going to make sure this fully cools, and I'm just going to take a break from it. Kind of usually push things too far if you spend too much time on it. So yeah, wow, this oil canned like crazy before. So yeah, just with a little bit of planishing, that'll be nice and smooth. And just because there was some rust, different things, it'll be just like everything else. We might have to put a little glaze here. But yeah, overall, it's actually pretty good, especially since that's my first experience with any kind of heat shrinking. So, turned out pretty good. So, this was, like I say, right here was a massive, massive dent. All right, here's the next area we're going to focus on. I know on the camera you can see this crease. This dent down here is pretty heavy, hard to tell from the camera, but yeah, heavy dent right here. The biggest dent is right here, and then a little bit of a crease up the center here. So really it's kind of like one dent, two dent, three dent, and then there's like a crease. It's a high spot here, 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 and here, and then obviously around the dent. So luckily I can get a dolly up in here. Looks like I can get it, yeah, all the way up in there. I have one with a sharp point on it and a curve. So we'll shove that up in that corner and hammer around and see how it goes. All right, it's looking good. Just a tickle of the dent still there. And you can kind of see a shadow of where the spot used to be. But I think it's because I had the grinder to it, because I can't feel it. Very happy to say the worst dent on the car is all gone. So a little bit of glaze, kind of where the scratches are, and it'll be looking good as new. A little bit of primer on it, you can hardly even tell where it was. So like I said, a little bit of glaze we're going to have on here anyways for that pitting, and that'll be good as new. Love the welding of the miscellaneous pinholes and little rusted spots on the kind of the exterior of the vehicle is, I believe, completed. So we'll go and grind those down and see how they all end up. But overall, pretty happy with how everything turned out. So we'll go grind everything down and some in the wheel well. Once I get all those ground down nice and smooth, we'll start getting some paint on it. Basically, I'm gonna paint the hood before I take it off, just so it doesn't rust up. And then I'm gonna remove basically the front fenders, and we're gonna paint basically the kind of the entire cab of the vehicle, so minus all the fenders, and get it fit up. So we'll get that focus first to getting the cab done, and then I'll off the vehicle get the fenders cleaned up and painted, and then I got to put all the fenders back on so I can get the new axles fit up. So I need to get them, centered in the wheel lips and everything. Well, it's after 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, and I plan to have a video of this machine out today in full gray, so I better get to work. I'm gonna get it covered in self-etching primer. I have most of what I've welded, pinholes, all ground down, and then I have marked in this blue paint marker. Just a few spots where still pinholes, areas I missed, ground too much, all that type of deal. So we're going to get all those touched up, a couple under there, and here, missed one on the hood. When I ground it off, found there was more than what I had originally thought. A couple pinholes still down there. And then a couple little pinholes were pitted through up along this seam here. So those last couple, gonna run a few welds. It's actually nice and cool in here. Got the air conditioner going. So we'll get that air conditioner shut off and get some welding going, and hopefully get this machine in gray and have a video out for you today.
Well, it's Saturday night, about 10:45, and I did it. It took a little longer than I'd hoped, but always does. I just had other stuff going, so I didn't get started until after 4. So got everything welded up, and basically just from rust sitting under a tarp, this whole top was like Swiss cheese in here, pitted deep, all these little holes you can see through it. So I got all the holes welded up, anywhere there was rust welded, patched, and then we got it ground down with the grind disc and then flat disc, and then we got it painted out with some self-etching primer, and overall it's looking pretty good. Just to be in one solid color. It's been a while. It's just been all rusty and nasty, the old paint. So just seeing it all here in one solid color, even though it's this kind of dingy green gray primer. It still looks good, feels good to be all in one color. So it's gonna sit like this in primer for in this spray can primer for a few months. I wanted to get everything coated and protected, while I could with the steel here, but next couple of months is going to be doing the suspension and getting the engine in and everything. There'll be some cutting and fabrication needed to get the 4-link in the rear. I'm going to have to cut parts of the floor off and to make clearance for upper arms. Who knows with the engine where that's going to land with the engine transmission. I don't know if I'm going to move it backwards into the firewall or not. We'll see. But overall, the body's protected and sealed. I still have to do the bottoms of the doors, have some holes in them, so like underneath. So those still need patched yet. So I want to get the main door skin primered to get it sealed, and then I'll pull it off of the car, get it up on a stand, and get those door bottoms fixed. Kind of same thing with the hood. I got it all welded up, all those holes, so it's good, but you can get it off the car. That had like zero paint at all. It was just pitted and rusted. So just wanted to get some primer on it so it would seal, wouldn't rust anymore, get any worse. And, there's been a lot of grinding and cleaning up of all of this rust and scale in this vehicle and all the dirt and everything caked in it. So hoping to get everything cleaned up, and while I'll be doing engine work and suspension work, things will be hopefully a little cleaner in here. Just getting this thing in primer and sealed and all of the rust off of it. So the fenders still need done yet as well. I'll be removing those from the body. Those are going to be off for a while, just because doing the suspension and everything in the front. Although I am going to have to take them off and put them back on a couple times to make sure I have the wheel placement correctly. I won't be modifying the length of the chassis at all. I'm going to keep it stock chassis size, so I'm going to use the wheel wells to line up where the suspension goes. But I mean, overall, I set out what I wanted to accomplish this week. Got all of the junk ground off of it, welded up, cleaned up, and it's it's sealed off. It's good to go. So actually, next week, drip rails or rain gutters up here. So I've seen a couple other people do this. I was looking up YouTube trying to figure out what to do with it. Basically replacing that drip rail that was just completely rotted out. I don't have the best tools currently to make one, and found a good idea of using, I believe it's 3/8 round bar, welding that in, and that'll actually make sure either light rain runs down or heavier rain drip off away from the door seal. So that will be functional. It'll also keep the look of having the flow here with the edge out here in the drip rail. So that's what we'll see in next week's video. I've actually already started to bend up my first kind of piece here, just to kind of get started, and so we'll video the rest of it getting them bent. I'm just hand bending the vise, and we'll be welding them onto the car. This self-etching primer is pretty thin on here, so we'll be able to clean off anything where we need to weld and get those welded on. So I'm not worried about that. So that's what we got coming, and thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that stuff. Really appreciate it. Thanks.